Well, I'm gonna start then from the previous questions that I did in the video, and then from there, if anything happens to come into my mind, I'll ask you. So
Sounds
the main question, the first one, which is the most easier question that everybody needs to ask, is how this all happened. What was your thought
Okay.
process? Why not make a, this probably is almost the same, say second question, but why not make a dinosaur game? Why make, a other animal survival type game?
All right. So I'll be very transparent. How this started for me was I've never played any animal survival game in my life. I got I got notice of Path of Titans by watching a TikTok video, and I saw some dude as a croc, or what I thought was a croc, which was a Sarco, um, like attacking something. So I thought it was a regular animal game because I didn't see dinosaurs in his video. It was like a Sarco versus a Meg, and I'm like, dude, I need that game. So I downloaded it, and I instantly fell in love. I've never spent more time on a game than I have on Path of Titans. Um, so after that, probably spent like a good 6 months on the game. Um, and then I was like, dude, this would be wicked if Path of Titans made this game but with modern animals. Um, and I did like try to find out who I can get in contact with to like present the idea, and I just couldn't find anyone that would actually respond. So then I was like, dude, I should do it. Right. So I downloaded Unreal Engine and I was like, I don't know where to start. Tried to watch tutorial videos, didn't know what I was getting myself into. Like the game development world is hard. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm like thinking like, does it even make sense for me to make this game? Like if there's somebody else that already made it. So now I decided to start doing some research. I came across a few games that were already established within the genre. Uh, I know that I came across Animalia
Mm-hmm.
and played that for a while. That game has great potential. I feel like they kind of stopped doing as many updates at the time when I was playing it. Um, so there was a lot of stuff that I felt like could have been better. Um, and I was like, all right, we might still be able to make a game. I played Cenozoic Era. Game is gorgeous as far as quality goes, but they're kind of in the same realm as Animalia, where some of the movement isn't exactly up to par. So I knew where I needed to focus if I was to create a game in this genre. So that's kind of weird that that developed was like playing Path, looking at the competitors for the genre, and knowing where I had to kind of to step it up in order to even be considered like a game worth anyone's time.
That is pretty true. The developer world is now really easy because myself included, I also try to play around with this Unreal Engine, or maybe Unity. But Unreal Engine, I think it's more friendly towards people who want to learn how to make a game.
Yep.
Because I am a programmer, so I kind of know how things are and how coding goes. But I also did some animations, not in Unreal Engine or maybe Blender, because I did. If I don't know if you know about SFM, Source Film Maker,
Okay, no,
which
that's new to me.
is Source Filmmaker is basically, let's say, an animation software that is provided by Steam. It's usually made for Team Fortress 2, but you can also use other models from other games, and you can do your animations or maybe do some pretty cool poses. Let's say if you want to take a screenshot, and put in a banner of your video, you can also do that. But of course, with the Blender came out, a lot of people went to Blender because it's more sophisticated, a little bit harder to learn, but more looks more professional if you want to make animations, the quality of the model, etc. I also try to play with Blender, but it's it's a little difficult, but we're still learning. And something that you're doing, which of course this will also be a question that I don't know if you have any developer experience whatsoever. Your admins or mods told me that you don't.
So I'm very transparent with my community. I have zero game development experience, but I hired people that have game
Mm-hmm.
development experience. So all my devs have more than 5 years of experience on working with Unreal Engine or just level design or coding. Um, uh, and I brought in some well-known individuals amongst like the Path of Titans modding community that came in and did animations for us. Um, I'm just the brain
Mm-hmm.
and the person who signs those signs those checks. So I paid people to make sure that this game was going to be what I said, like what we say it is.
By the end of the day, everything falls on you because you're
Right.
the brain after all. Like a good. I wouldn't say brain, but a person who can manage, and a person who has a good vision on what clearly he wants to make and do. That's really important because, like Animalia and like other games, when a community starts to ask a lot of questions, ask for a lot of changes, saying that we don't want this, we want like that, we don't want this has to be a part of the game, we want you to change. And you, as the founder or the brain of this entire operation, you gotta, have a tight grip on that because a lot of the times those developers might just be like, well, Blip, I think it's for the best for us to change this. And, because the community is asking. I think another thing that happened with Animalia, because, I do a lot of videos on that. I think they listened a lot to the community and a lot of the things that they wanted to do, they are afraid to do because of the community. Because they try to do one thing and the community didn't really enjoy that or didn't really like the system, although it's something that is realistic. They had to cut it out, and now they're all just a little bit cautious on what they're going to upload. Having
So
somebody with that experience, might give people who want to buy the game a little bit of a disclosure. Because I don't want people to think, let's say, that you're just the guy with the money and you're just the guy who just do things and then that's it.
so
Because you
for me,
don't develop.
right. So because I don't develop, I have a lot more time to interact with my community. So I feel as if I will take everything that they say into consideration. If it's a great idea, we jot it down and I bring it back to the developers like, hey, this is what we should do. I think that it's different for us because I'm not a developer that I can bring back this information to them on what we should and should not implement based on what the community says. I also think the reason why a lot of other games kind of get like serious backlash from their community is because they release a game without having their full mechanics plan or like into that version of the game, and people get used to that. So that when you try to implement something new, it scares people and they backtrack because they scare the backlash. Versus having everything that you need ready, putting it out there. If people don't like it, give it some time. You can't always just react based off of the few negative responses that you get, because sometimes you need time to really sit down and analyze something and learn to appreciate it. Um, So I think, like I said, I think Animalia has great potential to be like the greatest, like within the genre. They definitely are like the reason for a lot of us in this genre to even like really, or as far as modern animals go, why we pursued it and where we kind of learned to correct those mistakes.
Do you think with upcoming the upcoming game Primal Earth, do you think that Animalia will? Because let's be real, although I play a lot of Animalia, I do talk with the devs from time to time because they are Brazilian, so I can speak with them easily because it's Portuguese. I kind of help them, with the problems, bugs, etc. But do you think that compared to 1 year or 2 years ago, Animalia lost its potential? And do you think, this is your opinion, of course, that Primal Earth will dethrone Anomalia for a few weeks or maybe years? And how will that be versus, you know, the Hunted? Because although the Hunted has a different type of, you know, engagement because it's 5 biomes, etc. It's not only focused in the African continent. Do you think that, you know, how will the dispute will be between you two?
So I'll start with Anomalia and Primal Earth. I think that anyone can have a comeback story. I think that I started seeing Anomalia start doing some serious updates as of recently. Um, Now, as far as Primal taking over the genre, I wouldn't doubt it. They put a lot of time and effort into their game. They listen to their community. The game is gorgeous. Their models are gorgeous. I know that they use some of the models from Anomalia as placeholders because, again, a lot of people don't understand it's hard to just like create a model out of thin air quick enough to really appease the people. So I respect everything that Primal Earth is doing right now. I think that they will be the leader of the new school of animal survival. Now, as far as the Hunted versus Primal Earth, I don't think that there's any competition. I spoke to Kai. I fully support his game 100%. Like I said, I think that they will be the leader of the new school. Um, as far as us, I think we're at, like in our own lane as far as like what we want to do. I think that what kind of makes us different is more of like it's more PvP driven, which means that our combat mechanics should be a little bit more advanced than Animalia. I can't speak on Primal Earth as they're still in early development. Um,
And
but
most
we want to
technically
focus.
also in early access, so it's
Is
quite
it
still, yeah, it's still in early access.
okay?
I think a lot of people think
So
it's a fully released, but it's not.
see, that's what I had that misconception that they've been out for a while. Um, but yeah, we want to focus on our combat system, making it a little bit more engaging, making sure that like that you're about to get into a brawl and it's not gonna be fast, nor is it gonna be easy. Um, on top of that, having different biomes uh with different animals that fit those biomes is gonna be unique in itself. I think that we are aiming for the most realistic PvP animal survival. Everyone, I think Primal and Animalia is a little bit of both of PvP and PvE. And I don't want to say that we're not focusing on PvE, but it's not our main focus at the moment. Once we perfect like the combat mechanics, I think that we can go dial in the PvE. Uh, but coming from me, uh, I love the competition. So we wanted to make this game very competitive. Um, and have long lasting fights that take a toll.
Would you say that the game would be more of a deathmatch type?
I wouldn't necessarily say deathmatch type, right? I still want my goal for this is to make it feel almost as if it's a horror survival. Because it's a lot we plan on doing a lot more dense foliage the most, very similar to the Isle, to where you might not see somebody lurking in the bushes. Um, and I also want to make sure that the audio cues are amazing. Like I
Mm-hmm.
want you guys to pay attention to every element of the game, versus just like you see a tiger or you see a deer and you're a tiger and you go and try to kill it and like that's it. Like we want you to feel as if you're in this game and you know that if you make the wrong move, that could be it for you.
You want more of a fast pace instead of the old, let's wait
So it's
3
funny,
hours to
right?
grow. A lot of
Yes.
people,
As far as
I like you know, I like Animalia was my first ever animal game. I played mostly shooters, battle royale, survival games like DayZ, you know, and like if people ask me why did you stop playing Animalia, like I don't really have a straight answer. Maybe it was the nostalgia because you see like you're not animals, but you see, like I grew in Africa, so it's the same thing. Like I went to safaris, I've been in contact with wild nature. I do love, documentaries about the wildlife, etc. And I found it funny that people play animal games because in my eyes they're just like why do people play this? So what's the fun in this playing like an animal? Why not play like a shooter, like a survival, or like a real survival game? And then I started to play, and I saw some of the videos of the Isle from Gamer Beaver, and I was like, well, this is pretty interesting, but it's pretty interesting to see, but it's not really that interesting to play, in my view. So when I played Anomaly, I was like, well, now I kind of get the funny of the game. Now I get why people do this, because it has a little bit of our, like, let's say, RP type. If you
Right.
do like that,
Because you live that life. You get to be the animal, and you get to embody that species, and, I think it's every animal lover's dream to be able to be their favorite animal, and get to roam these beautiful landscapes that are created. Um, so I think that's what like drags people into the animal survivals. Um,
mhm,
being able to play your favorite animal essentially. Um, but like you said, it was supposed to be fast paced. As far as the growth system, yes, that'll be fast paced. But as
mm,
far as like ideally, this is a spoiler, you should want to play as far as like the hunted, you would kind of want to play it slow because the game is this is another spoiler. It's a stand your ground type of game. So if you're running and you get hit, you're falling. If you're running, you run into a tree, you're falling. We want to implement these realistic features that can kind of cause you to lose a fight. Versus you shouldn't be chasing everything that you see. You should play your animal how it's meant to be played. Like if you wanted to main a tiger, you should know that that's an ambush predator, and you should stay lurking in high dense foliage versus uh, your gazelle or your deer that would just be frolicking through the woods. Now, as far as like our stress test and private beta, this is just like a mashup of animals from all over like from each and every other biome. Essentially, we're supposed to start with the Siberian tiger, but we had some issues with the animation, so we had to put the Bengal tiger in for stress tests. And after the first wave of stress tests, our second one will have our the models that we've presented. Those will be into the second wave once we can correct the issues that we had with them.
that is pretty. That's something pretty interesting that you said, because a lot of the things I don't really enjoy. I can only talk about Anomaly because Anomaly is like the only, let's say, animal survival game that's out there. That's a multiplayer that people still play, because a lot of people, and this was also one of the questions that I asked one of your staff members, is a lot of the people love to play herbivore. A lot of people love to play. A lot of people love to play carnivores, and not a lot of people like to play herbivores. Although I think that people who like to play herbivores are more of a passive group, instead of
Right.
people who want to play carnivore are more of the people who want to fight, the people who want to kill, the people who want to win. Now, in Animalia, because it is a human playing as an animal, they don't behave as that animal, which is something good that you said, that you will be, not, I don't say obligated, but you will have to kind of play very cautious. Because a lot of the times when you play Animal, you will see a zebra coming back to kill a lion. That should not be a thing. Like a lion should
Right.
be able to kill a zebra, a lion should be able to kill a wildebeest, but in Animal, it's just people don't run because, of course, grapple system's not implemented and etc. But a lot of the times, that's
But
something that
they
you
also
shouldn't do.
they're not balanced. That's the issue with Animalia is
Exactly.
that your herbivores are they are fairly strong, so they know that they don't have to run. Um,
But the
now
thing
as
is,
far
if
as
they made herbivores weak, people wouldn't play that. That's how, at least how I feel.
yes and no, yes and no. Um, I say it would be in your favor for our game to kind of you would want to favor the herbivore essentially And I say that because like I said earlier, it's a stand your ground type of game. Your carnivores are gonna want to hunt. But if they come at you running, like I said, you get hit while you're running fast pace, you're falling. That gives you time to either attack them while they're down or get enough you can get out of there.
Have you ever played a shooter game called Hunt Showdown?
I haven't.
Have you ever heard of the game? Because Hunt Showdown it's, let's say, it's a cowboy shooting game where you have to hunt a bounty, which is an animal or a boss, and it's all about sound cue. There is birds, there is glass, there is traps, there is dogs. There is a lot of things that can make you detectable to other hunters, because it's kind of like, almost like a battle royale. And the theme of that game is also horror. You have nighttime, you have fire, you have a lot of things. And once a new player jumps into that game, they won't expect birds to fly off and make sound, glass shattering the ground. You have some bottles that sometimes are hanging up. Everything is sound cue. So
Right.
hearing you say that if you're not cautious, things will give you away. Things will make you deliberately, kind of not be able to grab your prey. It is something pretty nice to hear. Now, if you guys will manage to do that, now that's a different question, because sound cue and sounds is something really important to any game, especially when you're making an animal game.
Well,
A lot of
luckily for
people
me,
think that probably sound is pretty easy. It's like, just go. I was talking with a friend, and she was saying like it's too easy to grab a sound from animals. Just go into YouTube and grab any sound. That's not really the case.
so
Well,
I'll
a
tell you
lot of
this.
the animals are pretty
I have a
difficult.
background. Before I started making games, I have a background in music production and audio engineering. So sound is what I plan on using to make this game essentially unique in itself. Um, if you listen to our animal sounds, I don't know if the channel's still there anymore, but those clips are the best quality that you're gonna find for those animals, and they're not done. Like I haven't even touched them yet. Those are just the raw clips, and they're already high quality. I refuse to have any sounds with a lot of ambient noise in the background, um, or just a lot of white noise.
It is
The
pretty cool.
audio in this game should be crystal clear to the point where you're like, "Geesh, that sounds like I'm right next to a tiger for real." Um,
And would you
so
would like the player be able? Because I'll give you an example. You play Rainbow Six Siege, right? And the
yep,
sound is a little bit different from what you usually, you know, used to in a game of shooters. If you have like a open wall or open hatch, the sound will travel from that, and sometimes you will get confused because you might listen and you're like, okay, there is somebody to my left, but you don't really know exactly where he is. You know it's in on left, but he might be on top of you. He might be almost, behind you, in front of you. Will that be the case? Will like sound travel in the map?
sound sound will travel through the map, but it also will bounce off.
Uh,
I know that sounds really tricky. So that has a lot to do with playing with pan, like your audio pan,
mhm.
and just automation within, well, we'll say FL Studio because that's what I use for my audio engineering. Um, so like our tiger sounds already have been panned for the attacks, but then I thought about it. I didn't want to do like for a bite. I didn't plan on having like a roar every time because that's annoying. I won't lie to you. What
I know,
I
I
like
know.
what Path of Titans did like a chomp sound, which is less like it's easier on the ears. So I plan on doing something like that for regular bites. You might get a roar like with like a paw swipe or something of that nature, but it won't be obnoxious. And there will be variations. But everything that you hear like in the map will be actual players. The only thing that we'll start off with that will have ambient sounds are probably birds until that we release our flyers. Um, so that when you hear something, you know that it's going to be in the game.
No. We are like going off track, but I do want to come back to you just to continue with the questions. A lot of the questions actually just got answered, but you know that Anomaly has a point system. will the hunter have a skill tree type of system that will make your animal different from, another animal? Or will everybody
So
have their same base stats?
So as far as skill tree goes, there will be no skill tree, but we still have the prestige system, which means that the more you prestige, the more abilities that you unlock, which means that you'll have variance versus how you set your animal up with those abilities. Very similar to Path of Titans, you'll be able to you'll unlock your abilities. You can slot them however you want. Um, that'll make your animal unique in itself until somebody online obviously makes a video like this is the best tiger build. Um,
Hmm.
but it'll
Give us
really be
content creators something to do.
right. And it'll essentially just be like based on your preference of how you play, like your play style. That'll essentially what those abilities will help you guys benefit.
Do
Just
you
like our
think
wolf pack will have like a pack howl buff that like will buff the entire pack and increase stamina or attack.
do you think that PvP wise the game will be one-sided, or it will always give that people like me, solo players, a opportunity to win a fight? Let's
Like
not say let's say like it's a 1v5, no, but let's say that it's a 1v2 situation. Will there be, let's say, an opportunity for the underdogs as solo players to win, or it's just like an immediately
it de-
lost?
it depends on what you play, right? So
Mhm.
let's say you're you got there's two tigers versus your wolf. Remember how I said it's a stand your ground type of thing. If both tigers are running at you and you're already standing your ground and you get the first hit on one of them, that one's going down, which means that you could either try to finish that one off or try to escape. Now, remembering that if you knock somebody down while they're running, you can just keep playing that game, like where you run off, stop, turn around, and trip. It's all about your play style that will make you the that will kind of determine whether or not you can survive on your own or not.
I just want to clarify, when you say you get hit, when you hit that player and he goes down, do you mean it will be just a one hit kill, or is this just an
No, no,
example?
no. It's a trip system that we plan on having.
Or because I'll
So
say
that won't
just to
it won't
clarify,
do damage, but it will trip them
do
depending on
you
weight.
will you implement features like broken bones, jaws, etc.?
Yes. So we will have the broken bone system, and we also will be implementing dismemberment for the Crocs. So when they death roll, you'll lose a limb. We've we've already got that plugin.
That is pretty interesting. Will you guys have gore? You guys have dismemberment?
So yes, we will have gore. Um, this game is going to be graphic. Uh, as again, like I said, I'm into high quality. I want it to feel very real. It would make no sense for me to not implement gore into a game like this.
They wouldn't be for the kids, let's say like that, or for the people who get sensitive pretty easy.
I wouldn't say it would. I think that even those people would find it interesting to see it in the game.
Would you
Um,
think on adding like an option to turn gore and stuff off?
if it's doable, of course. So that's something that I would have to run by my project manager. But if it's doable to have that feature as like a toggle, yeah, we can. But as of like right now, like what's gonna be on when you get in game, you will like my goal is to have pure gore, um, just so that it matches the quality that we're trying to put out.
Very nice. Now the question, I think I already answered this, but if you saw the video, you know that your moderators or admins gave me a hint because I asked them a question that it went from, a lot of people prefer carnivores from herbivores, like we discussed,
Yep.
and what was going to be the plan on balancing that out, like you stated, because of the unrealism for Anomalia. And they
Right.
gave me a question. They gave me an example of this pretty extreme. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever seen a clip where a gazelle kills a lion or a tiger?
Never in my life. Realistically, it won't happen. I
Will
think
it be possible? Will people have like that 1% of chance of finding, let's say, an injured animal and being like, yeah, now it's time? Or
I,
will have like zero chance of killing?
so. In a game, anything's possible, right?
Hmm.
But if it's set up the right way, where combat weight's a factor, um, in no scenario will you ever see a deer kill a tiger, a rhino, anything that's above its weight class. It just wouldn't make sense. Now, I'm not saying that you can't do damage or stun these animals, but in no realm will you ever be able to just kill it as a deer.
What about a group of deer
The only
though?
I, even as a group of deer, I think that
Mm.
you would already that tiger would have to be low in order for you guys to really to put him down.
Don't you think that would make people prefer more carnivores than herbivores?
No, because we're talking about a small herbivore. You're supposed to just get out of there. Like I said, it's a stand your ground type of game. So you can still back kick and essentially knock that tiger down and get out of there. Your goal is not to go beat up on tigers. Now, if you're a rhino versus a tiger, I expect you to win that fight.
Will one hit kill be a thing?
No.
Because, for example, people will probably say, "Oh, if a rhinos, hit a tiger, it will just impale him, and that's it. It's dead."
I don't know if people actually seen like rhinos attack. Uh it's very like when you watch those videos, it's very I'm not gonna say rare, but it's not as common as you think that those rhinos actually get to puncture something. Uh
Keep in mind, of course, like I said, these are players that are playing the game, so that goes for the mentality. Because a lot of herbivores, although they can kill, let's say, a lion, they choose to run away because that's their instinct.
right. So we do plan on having those abilities to do that damage shot. Uh so like the puncture for the rhino is going to be an ability, but it's not something that your regular attack is gonna do.
Hmm. You'll be able to flip people as a rhino.
That is our goal. So we plan on so each animal should have its own ability. So we plan on having finishers for each animal. Um, so it's almost like a cinematic scene that will, let's say, the tiger will latch onto the throat and like maybe just rip out the vertebrae within there. Um, but each animal will have its own unique finisher.
And you've talked about a lot of foliage, which,
Yep.
as somebody who doesn't have a mega PC, how do you think the performance will be? Because a lot of
Well,
foliage can take a lot of performance.
we've been talking to a few different developers, like outside of our own team, that have given us some great insight on how to optimize the foliage. Um, because we also have to remember there's a lot of games out there that have tremendous amounts of foliage that are optimized.
Hmm.
Um, we can look at first person shooters like Battlefield, where they have dense forests, and you don't get that lag spike based off of that because you optimize your foliage. Like I just went in yesterday and had to take off all nanite off of the foliage because LOD is just better for performance. Um, so there's a lot of different things that we have to do in order to kind of optimize the foliage. Like so tonight we'll probably end up doing a close testing to test performance with people on the server, um, and see how that functions. So
Yeah,
once if
Battlefield has
tonight
different
goes well,
engines. Yeah.
well, yeah, no, they have different engines, but just I'm just saying, like in general, like there's always a way. Um,
I mean, if
so
you guys
if
are
tonight goes
able,
smoothly, Well, if that's the case, then we'll just have to go back to the drawing board. So if tonight goes smoothly, then we'll have a date for a stress test, like an actual hard set date. Like this is when you guys will be able to play.
Cool. Because a lot of the games will launch, and I know this is something I go from Discord to Discord. I'll see a lot of people complaining about this or that, saying the game is not really, optimized. Some of the games are not really optimized. Some of the people who play the games have a pretty junky PC or laptop, and they do expect sometimes to run a game, that's I wouldn't say next gen, but almost next gen, and then
Well,
they
that's
will
what it is.
blame the people.
So blame the people. So I expect it. We've stated like we're aiming for next gen consoles, which means that if your computer cannot handle, like you got to be realistic with yourself. You can't handle a AAA game on your PC. Don't expect to come here and uh to handle this, especially when we're focused is on graphics. But we also do plan on making it uh making sure that people can play with decent specs.
Hmm.
But if we're talking about like what's the lowest of the low, like I mean the 1660 should be good enough to run the game.
With 6 gigs, let's say.
Well, the 1660 with what 8 gigs is when I started developing the game. Had and I'm developing the game with the 1660. So um I think realistically decent specs you'll be fine.
Would you say that
That's
the Hunted will be more of a CPU bound or GPU bound game?
realistically our goal is it should be GPU bound.
Because there are a lot of games out there. Have you ever heard of Escape from Tarkov?
Have
So Escape from Tarkov is when you talk about realistic, combat, for shooters, Escape from Tarkov is on top of the list because sound queue, the systems they have, a lot of the things that you can do is just a lot of realistic. Although sometimes you can have those audio problems, audio glitches, which hopefully in the Hunted will not be a thing. If it's because if it happens, it happens. It's not like everything needs to be perfect.
to be very transparent with you. Going into our first stress test, it's gonna be terrible. I want to tell everybody that now. It's gonna be terrible. It's not a representation of the game.
Mhm.
We promised a date, which was September. Obviously, we passed that date. So now we're only putting the stress test out now to kind of to really test like server connection, make sure that it's stable. Um,
Because
for the
not
provider.
having the same problem as Anomalia, hopefully. When people are too bunched together and you have that little desync and rollback.
Right. So with 100 people on this map, that is very, 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 very small. If we can get it to perform perfectly, we'll have no issues moving forward. But as far as like people thinking that the combat system is going to be amazing or the movement and the animation is going to be amazing, no, that's not what it is. We're testing server connection, making sure that if we have 100 people in one area, will it be bad? That's for us to find out. And if we can dial that in and make it run as smooth as we can with 100 people in one area, then we shouldn't have any issues when we release a bigger map and 100 people are roaming that.
Do you guys have a date in mind, or let's say no ETA, or that you think that the Hunted will be able to come out?
So how we plan on doing it?
Because a lot of times people, things happen, like you said, but a lot of developers start to delay stuff.
Which is why we don't want to delay it. Which is why I said this stress test is going to be terrible. It's not going to be fun. We're just testing server connection. Moving
Mhm.
forward, after this one, we're going to do the second wave. The second wave is going to be everything that we promised. So from the models to the perfect grooms to implementing some of the newer mechanics, um, bringing in the anaconda. That's what you should expect from our second wave of stress testing. Now, once we finish uh, the stress test, uh, we should be moving into private beta. Private beta is now when and it's now open to those who have donated to play early. Should be a polished version of the game. Um, that's when we start to build our newer models. We'll start to release the ones that we have already for private beta, and then going into open beta. That's when we should have Xbox brought in. Now, as far
Hmm.
as PlayStation goes, that's something that we have to work out. They
Will
have a lot more
crossplay be a thing?
requirements versus that's the goal. Uh,
Mm.
my project manager says that it shouldn't be that hard. I know that some people say that crossplay is not something easy to deal with, um, but my goal is to make sure that everybody can play together.
There won't be any advantage for console players, no?
As far as what?
I mean, usually, this is not a shooter, but usually people play shooters on a console. They have the aim assist. You know, they can use a lot of things. Because I don't know how anti-cheat works on consoles or compared to PC. Because it's also
um,
anti-cheat is also a question that a lot of people asked.
so
Will you
there
guys
won't
will
really
be
be like
pardoned
any.
with, let's say, not Battle Eye anti-cheat, but the other one,
Who easy
easy
anti cheat?
anti-cheat. Yeah.
No, they're easy to get by. I would prefer Battle Eye over easy anti cheat.
Would you guys, for example, now that we're talking about anti-cheats, Escape from Tarkov, they have their own website. They do not sell the game on Steam. It's almost like a really, really close project. So it's really hard to come by with, let's say, false uh, games. So people
Yep.
can't really use cracked and etc. And it's really complicated to make cheats because it's not really a game that's available on Steam that has the same anti-cheat. They're unique, and it's really a closed space. Although there is a lot of hackers and cheaters in the game, but the Hunted, do you think that it will have a solid anti-cheat for the people out there? Especially when it comes to Steam, because I've heard that there's a hack that people can use on Steam that can, let's say, give you stuff that you shouldn't be given that easily.
Um, that is something that we have to really look into deeply, um, because we could figure out stuff like going into private beta, seeing who's going to be that first person that tries to hack. Because we'll probably, like I said, we'll probably start off with Battle Eye, um, and then if it does get to a point where it's bad, um, we'll have to go back to the drawing board and figure out what would be the best solution as far as anti cheat. I do know that we do plan on eventually uh, having our own launcher.
You guys will eventually, let's say, I know, I think you guys are gonna launch on Steam, right?
Yep,
Are you guys thinking of maybe if things go well, maybe departure from Steam, or are you guys gonna be in on the Epic also,
we will
Epic
not be doing
launcher?
Epic. No, I've heard a lot of bad things about games that decided to go through Epic, so we'll probably stick to Steam until we can get our own launcher.
Now, going just back a tiny bit to PvP, like, so I'm gonna give you an example because a lot of the times I don't know if you can count this as PvP, but let's say duel between animals. Would that be a thing on the Hunted? Will there be a system that can kind of incentivize people, maybe males of the same species, to fight each other, or it will just be some sort of
So
like, if you want to do it, do it. If you don't do it.
this is gonna be a spoiler, but we plan on doing sparring amongst groups. So where you don't take actual damage, but you guys can uh, fight and land hits. Um, whether however you want to RP it is up to you, but we will have in group sparring.
Mhm. Will the will the PvP or maybe sparring will be? Have you ever heard of the paper? How do you say this? Is paper rock paper scissors?
Yep.
So will that be, let's say, a combat system where you're able to attack, you're able to, let's say, deflect or maybe block attacks, or it will be more of a general, let's say, grapple system for carnivores, for example?
So I cannot. That's you. See, you trying to get all the juice out of me. So I'll give you this. We will have a dodging system, and that's all I can say about that because I don't want to give you all the tea. Because I still want you to play the game. So when it comes, you'll be able to see. But I'll tell you that we will have a dodging system, and we will have a limb targeting system.
That's good because I'm not really big of a fan of the let's say Anomalia type PvP. You know, because for me it's
Yeah.
more of a wrestling type, but at the same time, as let's say as a lion, if I see another lion, you know, maybe chilling or doing whatever he was doing, I should be able to grapple him. But at the same time, the animal that's being grappled from behind should be able to kind of go into a stance, let's say belly up, paws, you know, like they do, you know, claws out, belly down, or belly up, and give that people a chance and not the usual run, hit, you know, you go through it. Because I don't think that is really immersive. And also,
Yeah.
will body block be a thing? Because when you have, you know, that mother type system where your mother, you know, trying to protect the little babies and you're trying to block, and normal that doesn't really work because you're gonna get hit either way because you get, you know, you go through them. But will the hunted be able to have that system where if you see a predator trying to launch into one of your cubs, baby, you're able to either block it, maybe and absorb the hit, maybe instead of him getting grappled or grabbed, you're the one getting grabbed. So you put yourself in that line of
So
fire of getting that, you know, dragged.
I would go back to the stand your ground thing that we talked about. As far as like if somebody was running at one of your kids and lunged, you could swipe and cause them to fall. Um, there would be a lot more defense in this game than there is in competing.
Especially for herbivores also.
Right.
Yeah, let's say there's a pack of wolves and you're a deer and they're trying to target your little, what's it called? The little baby deer. I don't really know the name, but, you know. So you decide to, you know, run. But of course, a baby is pretty slow than the mother. And
I mean,
eventually, you
a
know,
pack
you
of
see.
pack of wolves versus your deer. We got to be realistic. It's just there's no escaping that one. Like if it's two, maybe you could back kick and drop one, but a pack of them, you're not gonna make it because all it takes is for one of them to hit you and you stumble, and now it's fair game.
Will friendly fire be a thing? Because a lot of people have
It
mixed
will.
feelings about friendly fire.
It will.
And how will be the group system? Because
So as of right now, it'll be diet based. I didn't want to do same species just yet, just because I know that coming out like with a new game, people are gonna want to try different things.
mhm,
And because when we do like officially launch, um, you have to unlock your animals. So there won't just be a list of animals that are just available for you to play. You'll be able to do that during like private beta, but during full game release, everything's gonna be locked. You get to pick the first animal you want unlocked, and then you have to level up in order to buy your next animal.
so for example, if I want to play, will that be like different sections? So for carnivores and for herbivores, or
Yep.
do I have to play this? Let's say, so we can't really jump into a game and be like, oh, I'm gonna play as a tiger now. You have to start with, let's say, a low tier carnivores and then build yourself up.
Well, you can so essentially you can pick whatever animal you want,
Hmm.
carnivore or herbivore, and then level up. So once you because you'll make in-game currency by leveling up and prestiging. So you can
Hmm.
either use that that currency for skins, or you can go unlock another animal.
So a thing that
And every time you quest,
go ahead, go ahead.
I saying, and every time you do like your quest, you'll get currency.
Kind of like Roblox.
Kind of like Path of Titans. It just won't be, you won't be collecting acorns. Your quest will be kill based.
Because it's more focused on PvP.
Yeah.
The thing, an idea here that I did want to ask, because it could pop up. When you say you have to unlock, different animals, will there be, let's say, kind of a tree system that you can kind of unlock a variant of that animal? Because as you know, you have tigers, but then you have the Bengal tiger, Siberian tiger. So to, let's say, unlock a Siberian tiger, you have to play as first a normal tiger, for
Well, it
example.
would, but remember that our biomes are specific.
Mm-hmm.
So it would have, like, if there's a variant, it would only be if that animal, that variant is in that biome. So like your Siberian wouldn't be in the, it wouldn't be in like the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it'll kind of play out. But as of
And
right now, it's very simple. It won't, like, as far like the variants, like it'll be very simplistic. But I do like that idea.
and I know you guys said, now, people, let's say, people from different types of biomes won't really be able to go into the other biomes. So you won't have like a
Yep.
polar bear going into the jungle. I'm pretty curious to see how that will be. Will that maybe, I don't know, let's say you try to go as a polar bear into the jungle biome and you get insta killed or you get like damage over
Oh,
time? Or is it
oh
more of a survival type where, because you're a polar bear and you go into a jungle has more heat, you won't be able to survive, or you don't have that
no, no, no,
diet
no.
there?
So each biome is its own map.
Oh, okay. So you won't have the 5 biomes like Cenozoic era.
Yeah, no, no,
Okay.
no, no. Because you can't limit it. Like, because then you would just ruin the experience for everyone. Because if they cross over and die, then now, like, the reason why we can't do everything on one map is because you you would end up losing people in certain biomes, right? So if everybody wants to play a lion, the jungle is going to be where everybody's playing at. Especially out of 100 people, you'll have maybe 50% of your population in the jungle, and then the rest of your percentages is scattered. So then the biomes are now scarce of having people being able to survive in those biomes. So making them their own individual maps was ideal, so people can pick where they want to play,
Hmm.
and that comes with its own list of animals.
That is pretty good to know, because in my head I thought there would be some similar to the Cenozoic era where you have a map and then you have different biomes. You will have maybe a mountain with snow where people will stay there. Then you have a, let's say, more of a plains and then desert area. And
No, because
then
it would limit everything.
that is pretty good to know. And with that, I came to the something here clicked. You're planning to have, let's say, water animals, ocean, like sharks. If I'm not mistaken, I've
Yep.
seen a picture of
So
sharks.
that'll
How will
yeah.
that be? Because how
It'll
the
be its own.
interaction will be with land people, or will there won't be
It
any
won't be, because
land?
remember, it'll just be an ocean biome. So like that map is just water.
But that opens like a lot of things,
So like
because water
what I
PvP, air PvP, land PvP, it's a pretty difficult and thing to do.
so if we can get the movement fluid in the
Hmm.
water, which shouldn't be an issue, um, I think that would be, I think it'll be gorgeous to have just the aquatic map by itself, where you get to pick what you want to be, um, and kind of live life that way. Then it'll be a lot easier, like, or not easier, but it would be more fun to have like AIs in there as well because it will be virtually very big. Um, and it'll also be like really cool just to design that underwater map.
And will there be? Because I know that there's a pledge on extincted animals.
Yep.
When you say extincted animals, do you say, let's say, in the dinosaur range type, like Sarcos, or maybe the Cybertooth,
Okay, so
or it's more
there's
of a more
there's
like
two.
a recent one?
So we had the endangered species, which
Hmm.
was a donation, which was like animals that are close to being extinct, and then the prehistoric biome is where we're going to do dinosaurs and other prehistoric animals. So it won't just be dinosaurs in there.
It will be a little bit. Now they say prehistoric biome. I kind of thought that not another dinosaur game, but it needs to. Will it have the same old dinosaur that everybody plays, everybody loves, or
No,
will it
no.
be exclusive to different types
We will
species?
have those we will have fan favorites, right? Um, but we don't want to go with what everybody starts off with. Um, like I know like the Rex is essential
Mhm.
and the Stego is essential, the Anki's essential. Uh, but we do plan on having like those. Some of them won't necessarily be quote unquote realistic dinosaurs because we do want to like kind of incorporate those raptors. Um, that'll kind of be designed tweaked so that we can use them. Um, but it'll be different, as I should say. Like the scaling of these animals will be way different than how other uh dinosaur survivals have made them. Like when you play a Rex, you're gonna be massive, which means that how we plan on doing it is our raptors will be scaled to the size of the human mannequin in the game and build up from that.
That's pretty cool.
Because
Because
everybody makes the raptors really small. In reality, they're 6 feet tall.
will you have a group of paleontologists backing you up so that people who have the tinfoil head who knows every single detail from dinosaurs don't come at you
Ooh,
from that little small detail that you missed?
hey, listen, we're gonna bring in the experts.
That is good to know because you know that sometimes there's a lot of people who you might just say a tiny mistake and they will penalize you for it deep.
Yeah, no,
And
we will bring
dinosaur,
in.
I'm not a very good dinosaur guy because no, I love dinosaur, but I don't know a lot. It's not the usual ones, but
Same.
I come across a lot of people and other people's videos that if they just give something like misinformation, they will penalize you really bad.
Hey, I mean that's life. People get misinformation all the time and jump the gun. Um, but I plan on making sure we do the appropriate research and making sure that that biome is amazing. I can give you this spoiler. We plan on. I don't know if you heard of like King Kong, um, but we plan on replicating the Skull Island map for
So
the.
are you gonna do Godzilla also? Because it's one of my favorite boy.
Oh no, no, no! We're not gonna actually have King Kong. We're gonna use.
No,
We're gonna have the prehistoric biome, uh, like the map shaped like Skull Island.
I mean I
Listen,
was
I
I was
thought
getting
about
a
it.
hope of maybe a DLC where you have like King Kong,
You know what's funny
let's say a
is we
little
have.
bit bigger, not that big, but a little bit bigger, and then you can kind of have, I don't know, maybe Godzilla in the side.
Thought about it. I thought about it.
Like
Like
a
just as like
special
a
mix.
mini game of King Kong versus Big Lizard because I can't call it Godzilla.
I have maybe four more questions.
All right.
Um, First one is how will be the skins? Will there be like unrealistic skins where you have those pretty,
No.
beautiful, flashy colors, or will be just realistic fur, like people
Realistic,
and realistic skin?
realistic
Will
color
camouflage
scheme.
be a thing? Will you be actual?
A
Will
set.
you able be actual to like blend in? Because a lot of the times, a lot of the animals that I read, they have patterns, or maybe they have certain behaviors. For example, I shouldn't say this, but I will say it. Spoiler alert for people who like Animalid. I will say this. So the kudu has a skin pattern that I've actually noticed investigating the animal, that I kind of like to investigate animals. That the way that he goes about predators, he stands still. He doesn't move, he doesn't run, he just stands still. And because he has that camouflage, predators won't really see him and they will just walk next to them and that's it. Will that be a thing? Let's say camouflage will work differently depending on the type of animal or herbivore.
I
Where
think that
if you
has to do
move, then
with
you're gonna be
placement.
like, oh, there's somebody there. But if you stand still, then you
So
won't be able to see it.
it depends. It depends on where you are in the map.
Hmm.
Like, so where you spawn at is where you like where you should be, right? So
Hmm.
how the spawns are going to work is you spawn into a habitat, which means every that spawn is where that same animal will spawn. So if you have a rhino, all rhinos are going to spawn there. If you have a tiger, all tigers are going to spawn there. You get a double XP boost for doing like just growing in that area. Um,
Will spawn protection be a thing?
well, not necessarily spawn protection, but essentially, if you're spawning in with the same species, that should be your protection. People will learn to not kill in the habitat because also you'll start to take a debuff. But um that essentially could like that could be your pack. Like you guys could march out together and run the server.
Because I'm a pretty let's say I'm a pretty hesitant because of course I think you have that spawn, but you have a different spawn points because you won't spawn at that same area or around that same area. Because once people start to learn about the game, they will start go and search for breaches in the game itself.
Yep.
And it also goes to, let's say, shooter games, survival games. People, when you play a lot of games, start to,
Oh, you're talking about as far as like you when you first spawn in, like spawn protection. Yes,
Mhm.
you won't just be able to get like killed as soon as you spawn in. But like your habitat is your habitat. That's where you'll spawn in. I'm not saying there's gonna be like one spot, like a literal spot where you spawn in. That entire habitat is where you will spawn. It won't be exactly in the same area as the last time, but it will be in that habitat.
That's pretty interesting because a lot of people, like myself, when I really like a game, I studied for the fullest, you know, about gameplay systems, spawn places, secret places. I basically run down and do all my research in the game as possible. And when it
Yeah.
comes to spawns, if you're like, well, there's nobody in this area, I know where the spawns are, let's go get some kills. That would create a probably a you know unbalanced thing in the server, but eventually that might be something that probably the admins or maybe server owners should be, because a lot of people, you might maybe implement, you might maybe make the tiger, let's say, strong, and then people will like, well, let's make a group of 5 tigers, and that will be a overpowered group. And a lot of the times it's not the game's fault, it's the server's rules fault, if you're getting, what I'm saying. Because sometimes it's just people, like I said, they're human, they play as an animal, they might grab this animal that is overpowered, make a group. Will there be maybe a limit for a group of animals in that map?
Yes. So it'll be based off size. So
So if
depending on
there's
how
like
big you are,
5
will
already,
determine how many slots you take up.
mhm. A lot of people say that, I don't know how I feel this, because a lot of people just suggest it. having a cap on different types of animals of species, so that you don't have a map with
So that's where you'll get
80% of tigers.
right. So that's where you'll get your like the best group sizing is if you stick to your species, right? So if you're a tiger grouping with, let's say, a jaguar, the slots won't be even. But if you're a wolf grouping with wolves, you can probably get a full 10 people in a group because you're with the same species.
Will
Now,
there
as far as tigers go, you probably only have 4 total.
will it be almost like, let's say if I join a server, not knowing exactly how things will be, but let's say I'll join a server and I want to play as a tiger. Will there be like a system saying like, oh, there's a lot of tigers right now, you gotta pick a different animal to play?
No, I did want to do that though. I did. But um I didn't want to ruin the game for some people. Now, there will be animals that we thought about doing population control, like where it's a certain amount of people play this animal.
Mm-hmm.
It's still something that we have to have to discuss. Do you mind if my project manager joins?
Sure, easy.
But yeah, that's something that we still like want to like discuss because I like the idea, but I also hate the idea. Because me as a player, if I join into a server and every tiger is taken, then now I'm upset because you got to think like this. Remember, you only get one unlock when you first start. So if you unlock only the tiger, that means you can't play the game.
Mm-hmm.
So
But
that's where it's
that can also be a problem, because a lot of people might play as a tiger, a lot of people might play as a lion, and like I was saying, that even though we're fingers crossed that won't happen, a lot of people will choose carnivores depending on how many carnivores you can play.
so what we're expecting as far as what animal's going to be favored is going to be the wolf. So once the wolf is released, that is what people are going to go and play as. Like if
Mm-hmm.
I put up a poll right now, like what animal you're excited for, I mean, you can go to the polls. We did it before. The wolf
Mm-hmm.
is always number one. So, but you also got to remember though, because once the gorilla and chimp and the bear is added, because they'll be considered herbivores, even though they're omnivores,
Mm-hmm.
uh, we're gonna want to play those too.
Will bears be able to climb trees?
As
Because I saw you
like
guys are
when
trying to
they're
make
young.
a almost a system of trees. Probably like a system of trees where you can walk on them, I think. Maybe PvP on
Yep.
them.
So
Because
yes, if
will there
when
be
they're
like be
young, we can
trees
climb.
that like a let's say, will there be trees that a bear cannot climb so that chimps are safe?
So when they get bigger, they will not be able to climb tall trees. That's what it'll be. Like they'll like same thing with tigers. They won't be able to climb tall trees because they won't be designed that way to make sure that the combat is fair.
Will there
Kato,
be?
this is Shmoo Kato.
Hello,
Shmoo is
Shmoo.
our project manager.
Hey,
Nice to meet you.
sorry. Nice to meet you.
Will
Sorry. I'm sorry if I glitch a little bit, by the way. I'm rendering some stuff.
Oh no, you're good, dude.
will there be? And this is the hardcore fans of Tarzan, if you know. So you
Yep.
already know what I'm gonna ask. Will
Yep.
you be able to swing from trees?
So
Will that
with
be
that one
possible?
is
Because
you have to think about like this. There's only so many ways that you can approach that tree swinging idea. I've looked into a few different ideas, and the one that I came up with that made the most sense, which still makes no sense. All right, so there's two that would work. One is just really a lot more work to do, and realistically, I won't do it. I would probably have to pay somebody to do it, but you would have to go in and make certain vine. You have to add vines to trees that are swingable. Um, but you would have to do that to every tree that you plan on allowing somebody to swing from. Now, with a big map, take forever. So,
you
or
think of adding
you
maybe a
can
glide system?
gliding as far as what? Like for who?
Gliding on the trees. So let's say you
You
have
mean like
a
Tarzan, like slide it?
yeah, fast
I
travel
don't think
almost.
that. I don't think we've thought about that, to be honest.
Let's
As
say
far as
you
like,
have, let's say, because there is a tree that you guys put like in a far like back. It was a tree that it has this long cylinder canal that links one tree to another one.
yep.
Which I was thinking like maybe gliding would be a thing, but you as a chimp especially, you would get on top of that and you would just glide yourself or maybe slide yourself on top of that little bark of tree into another place.
I think that's actually a wicked idea. Which
The
is kind
fast
of like easy
travel.
because we could essentially set it up as our falling animation to where like you
Mm.
slide down the tree. Um, but again, something that that's not something that we thought about. I think it's a great idea.
Well, I mean,
Will
there's still ways to actually do pretty much both because it goes through iteration at the end of the day. Like the functionality of things are just going to be like the first version, the second version. It's always like that in the game industry, essentially.
Mhm.
So when it comes down to the tree swinging, if we want to bring the realism, there's still the rope mechanic that we can implement, and it's not as complicated as I think Blip makes it out to be. Because at the end of the day, you can just assign specific ropes. The thing is, when it comes down to chimps and stuff like that, there's nothing wrong in simply adding some kind of specific vision that actually helps them to spot the vines that are actually proper to latch on out of all the trees, as opposed to like
Yeah.
different other ones. So that way, you can specifically assign specific vines to specific trees, and you're not gonna have like a riddled full world of vines that are pretty much useless until you figure out the right one. So there's a lot of avenues that we can actually hit at that point.
I would take it from a skilled. I was about to say skill check, but from a skill perspective, because Bleep was saying that they want this to be a PvP focused,
Hmm.
and I think it's pretty important to reward people who are good at PvP, reward people who spend their game trying to decipher what you can do, what you can't do. You know,
Hmm.
having something that will highlight people, be like, listen, this vine you can swing, this vine if you try to jump, you will fall. Kind of takes the whole fun out of the game, at least for me, because I think that's how it's funnier to learn the things that way. Because sometimes in games you just gotta go into a server and be like wasting maybe a few hours being like, okay, so this tree is not climbable, this tree is climbable, this tree has, let's say, this big ass flower, this one has no flower, so now I know which tree I can climb. But a lot of people that don't take that time and appreciation to either find ways of surviving, won't get that possibility. So having somebody be like, well, I'm gonna escape, I'm gonna grab this vine and I'm gonna swing out, and then you try and you fail and you're like, oh, this, I can't grab this vine, and then you die.
Well,
It
you see
is
that actually agree with you on that. It's really just a concept of like the idea remains the same. It's just different
mhm.
depending on like you have to have a key pointer at some point. If you're saying, for example, oh, this tree has this flower, this vine actually looks a bit different, so I know this one I can grab. It's the same
Mhm.
principle as the highlight mechanic that I'm talking about. It's
Mhm.
just instead of putting the highlight, you just put the vines as a different texture, for example, something similar that
Oh
they
yes, yeah.
catch on essentially.
Will
So,
you have like say a tutorial for new players?
uh, I mean, that was sort of planned, but far from being at the beginning.
All
I know
right.
Blip talked about it, but uh, that's essentially the single player part that
Yeah.
was actually thought about.
with with a lot of things, systems, one thing that I do want to ask is, will you guys have like an in-depth system? Because I'll give you an extreme of an extreme example.
Okay.
Let's say that as a chimpanzee, or chimp, you're able to. Will you be able, let's say, to physically grab a banana and eat the banana, and let's say toss the banana peel, and maybe that banana peel might, be, let's say, a trap that you can use, because chimpanzees can be a little bit of a smart people because of genetics, and eventually that, let's say, peel, if another chimpanzee or an animal try to step on it, it will just slide and fall down. Or for example, an elephant being able to drink water with his trunks and maybe splash water into animals, for example. An extreme example. So that you guys are considering doing something like that, or it's just plain simple? You can't utilize your trunks. You can't
So
utilize the environment around you.
sounds like extreme level of detail is what you
Yeah.
mean. And as far as like chimps throwing banana peels, probably not. I won't lie to you.
Mhm.
Maybe the elephant throwing water could be a thing. It wouldn't be something that is like an attack or anything. It could be like an animation of itself. Um just for shits and giggles.
Mhm.
Um but like as far as like attention to like the level to the attention to details should be like incredible once we get there, but like nothing of that sort as far as like very very minuscule things such as like a banana peel.
Or maybe, let's say, grabbing a stick or throwing a stick, for example.
I think maybe like a chimp playing in the dirt, um like with its finger or something, like when it idles. But
Yeah, those are all things that are like very, very much not something that we're going to consider just yet. Because I think it's not
Mhm.
something that you get from the get go. You're just not going to make a game and you're like, you know what? I'm going to make a chim that actually take a stick. You usually like the idea behind the hunted is mostly okay. We're going to make a game that is as realistic as possible, but still with the human aspect that's actually still sitting behind the computer. So there's a lot of details that could be added that actually happened in the wild, but we have to be selective on what we want to put in, especially first. And later on, if we have like extra time, there's nothing wrong in actually adding some of those
yeah, I
extra.
think yeah, once we get the base of the game, we can like we'll have time to go back in and add little details.
So these are the kind of thing where you say no, but maybe later we'll
Might be
reconsider if we think
possible. Huh?
that's it. That's it.
And a question that I asked the admins, did they deny this? It's about genitalia.
So I did see that part in your video. Now, some of the models that we got were placeholders, so some of them did
Mhm.
come with genitalia. Uh, will we actually have it? Again, that's kind of something that's to be determined as far as like if when me and Matt discussed like the uh nesting and pregnancy, how how detailed we plan on going with it. Like if we're going to shoot a triple X scene or if it's just going to be PG. I mean, we're going for a gory game, so you never know. You might see some real sex scenes for pregnancy. Uh, that again, that's something that has to be determined.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It can backlash pretty quick.
Yeah, just because like
Yeah,
I know I kind of like hinted it up to Blip, but we just didn't actually sit down and re-talked about it. But like if I can share real quick my opinion that I talked about, if you want to hit the little wider market, unfortunately that's one of those things that are gonna have to be snipped away. You can have it under the logic of the game, but not specifically as a what's it called? Not specifically as a yeah, it's in the game and you can see all that crap happening.
right.
So that's
But I
something
mean,
that
so
I
my
we talked about it, but we didn't actually go into details.
it depends, right? So if we actually do get rated at M before that's in the game, then I don't see why we won't do it. If we're already rated M before we implement nesting, I think we might as well just go balls to the wall.
It's just because you're still gonna hit a different market. So like think about it this
That is
way:
true.
yeah,
Oh,
you're
actually, no, you're right. Because then you
you're
can't
gonna
stream.
lose a lot of the marketplace, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, a lot of player base won't be able to play it because they're too young.
No, you're right. I just thought about it. You couldn't even stream that on Twitch.
That's it. That's you
It
can
depends on the game. Twitch allows nudity, but depends on the game itself. Because you can go on GTA and go to the strip club, and you can go there. It is strictly depends on how nudity is
Well, I mean,
shown.
these are animals, so
Yeah,
I don't
you
know.
won't be
But again,
you won't be a problem.
I'm not trying to like feed somebody's fantasy watching animals have sex. So, um,
I know, but
uh,
there's always that one guy or one, that's all about the realistic approach. And you
yeah,
have to also take in mind that animal games, let's say 60% of the players are females, so that can be a problem because
Yeah.
boys will be boys, if you know what I mean.
I mean, yeah,
I was
you
about to
you.
say boys will be boys, but no, that's true though. There's a lot of
I
there's a
mean,
lot
you
of
give that power to the boys, it's gonna be a shit show. You're gonna
Yeah.
have male wolves fucking raping each other. So we don't need that in the game. Now that you put it that way, we'll keep this shit PG.
We're talking here with wink, wink. I'm
Just
just
because,
saying.
like, I forgot, like, guys are really dumb, and they'll get us like, can you imagine? Can you imagine that video? Somebody playing as a
No. Look
no,
at how beautiful this game is. Just shoves that on YouTube or some
It
shit.
will be pretty gnarly, man. You see a lot of species, bigger species humping the other species, and you'd be like, yeah.
yeah, it would be funny to see.
And then
I
you're gonna
think
have
that
those role players, fantasies that would be pretty weird.
The thing
yep,
that I think the extent of genitalia will actually come in, I still feel is where it comes down to mechanics. Say, for example, you have a hyena. Hyena are known to attack genitalia. Well, what they
hmm
could do in this case, it would just make the person infertile. Boom, you just kill the
yeah.
lineage.
So, Will, now that you spoke about hyenas and attacking genitalia, like, will there be like vulnerable places, for example, places where if you maybe
Um,
strike an animal, that would be deal a lot of damage? Because technically,
it goes back
for a
to
buffalo and hyenas, hyenas attack the rear of the buffalo and just bleed them out.
Hmm.
so that goes back to limb targeting. It's something that we
hmm
plan on implementing.
But let's say
So
biting
that's
the
kind of
ass, for example, is not going to take out the ass overall,
yeah.
It's a chunky meat. You can't really remove that.
Exactly. Because there's a
But
difference between biting maybe a neck, biting maybe a ankle, leg, and then biting what is supposedly to be the realistic weak point of an actual animal.
Yeah.
Blip, how far did you
I
actually
think
tell him about the combat mechanic and everything?
I gave him just like very like really vague as far as like sparring and just going into we want it to be more of a long lasting fight versus just like quick and over with and move on to the next kill.
You
Okay.
want fights to be
I mean, you
quick,
could
or you want fights to be slow? You
Oh,
want the whole
slow.
process
last.
of fighting, because like I was saying, it would be something like, oh, I successfully ambushed this animal, now he's dead. Or it's
No,
more
we
of a
should
like,
last.
I grab him, he fucking do this, rolls over, I unlatch, and I'm like, oh, I gotta grab him again. And it will be, would you say, if you could give a, let's say, estimative, would fights last more than 10 minutes or less than
So
3 minutes?
we'd have to probably put it in the right scale. So
hmm
if you're brawling with two tigers, that fight should take a while.
Mhm.
Um, and I can't really put a time limit on it, but I would love for it to last at least really like 6 to 7 minutes.
Because think about it this way: in the middle of a fight, seconds will be seen as minutes. Like I'm just gonna put it this way.
Yeah,
But you're not gonna see it's it's just not gonna be like the other games where you just like circle around and just bite until somebody drops. This is I gotta have to admit one thing. Okay, there's something about me that you have to know. Okay, and I'm stingy about it even with Blip, since I actually joined essentially.
hmm
I'm very, 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 very stingy when it comes down to the combat mechanic. for the sake of I need something that is very enticing. I'm just gonna put it this way. We all know that Dials, for example, right now, I would consider Dials to be one of the best one out there when it comes down to the flexibility in the combat mechanic and everything. Okay,
I'll be right back.
it's still not enough for me. It's not satisfying enough for a person like me who needs to really feel the the intensity in the fight, essentially.
Mhm.
So when it comes down to it, it like Blip said, fight should last long. Technically speaking, of course, if you, I think you mentioned it in your video, which I actually like the fact that you pointed it out. Like a gazelle being able to take down a tiger. I mean, unless the tiger is like
Really, really
halfway.
hard.
Exactly. He's like trying to survive with like an ounce of his life left. Maybe a gazelle would kick him in the face and it just knocks him out. But
Mhm.
like, I wouldn't see a gazelle just fucking tanking a tiger.
I
Like,
mean,
he's just gonna stand
I
around
really
and
got
stake it.
surprised. I really got surprised when they say this. I'm not here to like diss them, but like they were talking about realistic. The game will be as realistic as possible. And then I asked the question, like, a lot of people, and I asked this to Bleep, a lot of people like carnivores. A lot of people don't really like herbivores. A lot of people don't really like to get chased. Some people might just grab a herbivore just to, troll around a tiny bit, and then that's it. They're gonna switch back to carnivores. How can you? How are you guys gonna do that? How's the approach? Are you guys gonna balance things out? Are you guys gonna make like a gazelle, not a gazelle, but a herbivore strong or not strong? They said, well, we want this to be like that, and we grabbed an example because they will talk about realism. And I'm like, well, let's grab a tiger and a gazelle. They're like, oh, a tiger can kill a gazelle. And a lion. I'm like, are you sure? You sure about that? Like, yeah, there's a lot of videos out there that you can see. It is pretty gruesome, but it happens. I'm like,
I'm a bit with you on that. Like, it's not.
I'm like, I got born in Africa. I've seen a lot of stuff. I've seen a lot of documentaries, and I've never in my life seen a video of a gazelle killing a lion or a tiger. Never in my life.
Never.
And then I was like, well, maybe they kind of confuse that to maybe a different herbivore who has horns, but doesn't seem realistic to me.
I don't think they actually have the whole picture right now because, okay, since I actually joined the club, essentially, I had to like kind of sort of analyze a lot of stuff and reorganize a bunch of stuff as well. So depending on when you actually did that, I mean, even right now, I think there still would be a little bit of confusion if you were to ask one of the admins, if we're being honest together right now. So I think the best people that would be able to answer those things is still Blip and I, but the others are still going to be a bit, they're going to try to work the kinks, but they don't. They
Mm-hmm.
clearly didn't do a good job at it. So I'd say like unless you get it from me and Blip for the time being, it's not going to be a
Mm-hmm.
permanent thing. I would probably take it with a grain of salt, essentially, because like you said, like I don't expect a gazelle just standing his ground, looking straight at a tiger in the eye, and be like, "I'm just ragdoll. I'm
Come
just
at me,
gonna
bro.
ragdoll you right now."
Just like Animalia, because that's something that Animalia happens in Animalia. Herbivores stand their ground, and then there's a lot of group of lions attacking. They're just there, like they're not taking any damage. They can escape whenever they want because they have almost infinite stamina. But just the process alone of a single animal standing motionless in front of a pride without like no fear whatsoever, because that's one thing that I want animal survival games to, make the players feel is fear, anxiety. Shouldn't be like, fight this guy and not really think about the repercussions. I want people to have fear. If you see a tiger, you're like, oh, hell nah. Time to bounce. Instead of being like, oh, there's a tiger, let's just, stick him up. Let's 1v1. Not like that, I want people to kind of feel like you kind of care of your animal, It's not like you're going to throw your animal life away like people do in Animalia. I want people to actually feel fear and be like, God damn, if I die, then I have to start all over again. Although they told me that won't be a thing.
Well, yeah, it's because sometimes there's a lot going on when it comes down to the reason why like you're not gonna throw everything away. And mind you, there's a lot of things that are gonna be on official that are gonna be a lot different on
Hmm.
community servers. So just bear that in mind. On official servers, yes, for example, you're not gonna just restart everything from zero. Whatever
True.
happens with the community servers happens. It's fine. Like it's up to them to set their own rules. We're not there
Hmm.
to actually stop them from making the kind of gameplay they want. Essentially, yeah.
That's what I talk with with Blip. Like a lot of people forget that it is not actually the game's fault for being unbalanced. Sometimes it's almost the server's fault for not having a server rule that doesn't allow that type of behavior. Because at
But
the end of the day,
I-
there are humans who are playing. There are people who want to play as the underdog. People who want to feel like they can beat a elephant on a 1v1. No.
but I'm gonna tell you one thing though, okay? Just to hit you up on one of the things that I think will be a little more enticing in the game as opposed to other animal game. Okay, it's
Hmm.
not much. I know you're not gonna work with much here, but still, hit. I think the chase mechanic is gonna be something to look forward to at some point in the future because it's not gonna be just a straight liner and you're gonna try to catch something. You
Hmm.
you literally do not want if you're a gazelle again. I'm gonna use the same example you use. If you're a gazelle and you see a tiger just chase sprinting your way, you're gonna bolt in the other direction, and that tiger is not gonna just stop and be like, "Oh, okay, you ran away. I'm just gonna stop." No, he's gonna chase you up still. The thing is, the way that you're gonna manage the stamina versus the sprint and everything that's gonna go around the chase itself
Hmm.
is gonna be the decision between whether or not you're gonna live or die. And for people that are like having that, oh shit, something is chasing me and I'm about to get crushed, that I'm fairly sure if it goes anywhere where we actually have plans to put it, they're gonna feel it and they're gonna be like, oh wow, okay.
I'm really hoping that that will actually happen. Blip said that he wanted this kind of to be almost like a sinister horror. So
Well,
I would assume that jump scares, because
Yeah.
we were talking about sound and a lot of the things, even in animation, you need a good sound quality. You need a sound that fits perfectly the environment that you are in, that can give you that eerie sensation that, even let's say you jump into a jungle and you're like, I got a feeling that I'm being watched, but you're not being watched. You're just having that feeling, but it's really difficult to make that.
But that's what that audio cue should make you feel.
Exactly.
You should be alert at all times. So it's like essentially like it's like a psychological thriller and a
Hmm.
horror survival
mhm.
game if the audio cues play the right factor. But again, remember, I'm still a gamer, so I know that I'm not gonna have annoying ass music in the background because that'll make people turn off the sound cues.
True.
So when you hear it, it will make sense. And we won't have jungle drums in the background every time you get into a fight. Like that's not what's gonna happen.
That would be pretty stupid. Because a lot of the things in scary movies or in scary games, when you hear that certain type beat, you know that you're getting into a cutscene that something's gonna happen. It throws the surprise away because you have that little drum.
Yeah, the famous you enter the boss room
Exactly.
music.
Like, well,
Yep.
that is why if that happened in the Haunted, you hear that drum music, like, oh, somebody's watching me, somebody's stalking me. I need to know where he is, and that will just take all the fun out of it.
I
But
mean,
no, it'll be built up like an actual horror film. So you'll get random sound cues that will start to hype you up and start to build that suspense within you. That then goes quiet. And now you're like, what the fuck?
Because that, at least that's how I felt when I played the Isle the first time. Because the maps are so dense, the trees are so high. For me, I never played the Isle that much, although I try because my game can't really run really well. but it gave me all the sensation that like I don't know what I am. I'm lost. And I
Yep.
started to hear like dinosaurs in the background, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell that is, and I don't
It's an
want to
amazing
find
feeling.
out.
It's an amazing feeling, but it's
It
terrifying,
is, it is,
right?
it is. But once you start playing the game, you're like, I know everything. I know that's just sound cute, and then you lose
Yeah,
that
but
thing.
it doesn't take away the jump scare from the IO because it's more night than day.
Mhm.
So when you're at night, yeah, you're used to hearing the Carno scream until a fucking Carno shows up in your face. Because I play the game and I know all the sound cues, and I still get jump scared by dinos jumping out of the water while I'm drinking at night,
I
Mhm.
mean,
and I know that they're there.
yeah,
That
well, I
eerie
mean,
sensation
only
of
seen
like,
there.
Right? Yeah, that's the thing. They do a great job because you're like, dude, I don't know. There might be one in the water, and like that's the feeling that we want to give you as a whole. Like when you're playing daytime or nighttime, I want you to be like, like I want to eat, but like I don't know if I can go
I
grab
don't
that
know
bush
if I
over
should.
there.
But
That
there's one thing that you need to know though. There's some animals though that are born to be in the darkness, as others are
Right.
not made, and that's where the difference is gonna come in.
and I really expect that because I really like night, and I really like night times and do night hunts, etc. Because I think that's where things get much easier for XYZ animal. But a lot of people don't really like nighttime. A lot of people, and I will come at this because now I remember, because a lot of people won't like nighttime. People don't really like to play in the dark, and people will start using programs. Will that be a thing? Will you guys block like NVIDIA effects that won't allow people
I don't
to
know if
bright up their and maybe use effects to see better, exploit that
well,
type
so
of
here's
things?
how we wanted to set up the night vision. I don't know if you looked at the photo. I'll send you a link to it, but it won't be that dark, right? It'll be
Mm-hmm.
dark, like as far as like what you can see. So turning up your gamma would actually it would ruin your gameplay because you already have a flashlight over you. So you turning up your gamma is going to make your screen, like your actual field of view,
Mm-hmm.
really, really bright. And then everything around you, yeah, you'll be able to see, but you can't see yourself.
When you say flashlight, because when you said flashlight back in the days in Animala in 2021, the night vision was a flashlight. I call it lamp. It was basically a lamp on top of you,
That's exactly
and
how it should be.
then around you see the light, like let's say 2 meter radius or 1 meter radius. You can see everything. Like there's a lamp right on top of you, but outside of that radius is black,
Right.
and it won't be that type of night vision that the Isle has, or that you can kind of see the layouts. It will be just pitch black.
I'll show you. I'm gonna send it to you right now.
We'll see how it works with this.
All right.
Now that radius will be changed determining or based on your actual night vision scale, like how well that animal should be able to see at night.
That is pretty nice. Pretty cool. It fades out. It's not just like here's what is light and here's black, and it fades away. It is a pretty cool concept because a lot of people, I have that struggle of like, this animal is a night animal. He needs to watch. He needs to see better. This one doesn't. And I know that.
Well, the reason why we did that
Yeah,
is
yeah.
more because I, again, am a fan of quality. So
Mhm.
night vision or having long nights and then forcing someone to use night vision takes away from like all the art, like the work that we've done to make the daytime look so gorgeous. Um, so having that overhead light as your night vision will still let you like enjoy the quality of the game as well.
Will you guys maybe add a option that admins or server owners in this case have an option of maybe reducing nighttime, or it will be like
That would
standard?
be a
This is
question. That's a question for Shmoo.
because a lot of people will, when they have that app, that option, they're like, oh well, let's just grab nighttime and make it 5 minutes.
I mean, it's up to them. It's up to you after that if you want to go. That's a different.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where like I don't think we want to limit anything that goes around with the servers, because I know a lot of community servers will want to have like different type of ways, like, oh, these ones are going to grow a little longer, these ones are going to grow a little faster, these ones are going to be a little more combat specific.
Hmm.
The only thing I think we're going to try to remove off of the community servers, as much as I could say, is that most of the community servers will have rules, those famous rules to bring
Yeah.
realism. Well, we're just hoping that these rules are not going to be a rule on the Discord. It's going to be an implementation in the game instead. So it's because the end goal is still the realism. So you're not going to have like a bit like you said, like, well, I mean, if you use, for example, if you do an example like a hippo and a croc,
Mm.
you're not going to see a croc just dilly dally walking around and try to mess with a hippo in game. You're just like, I don't okay, that's something that I'm just not sure how. It's still very much like a thought, don't take it for granted, but like
It's like
there's
the
only
it's like
so much.
the thing that the meme that says the more you fuck around, the more you find out. No?
Exactly, but there's only so much you can do to the player for them to really feel like, oh, I really shouldn't mess around with a
Mm-hmm.
hippo. That's where I think the big difference will be when depending on the kind of like buff, debuff that happens, depending on the environment and what happens around you, straight to the animal in game. I think that's gonna be a bit more of a game changer, if it makes any sense. Now, is it gonna be a thing? Don't quote me on that. It's still very much like a thought that I think I didn't even run by Blip yet, but it's just something that it's just to prevent because like I said, there's only so much you can do with the human that's sitting behind a chair and what they want to
Mm-hmm.
do. And if you like, there's nothing stopping a pride of lion, like, if just basically, for example, if you go at Animalia or anything, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing stopping a pride of lion to have like 50 males, when in reality, like, where do you see 50 males in one group of
That's
lion
true.
pride? It makes no sense. So
It's the
we're gonna
server own.
that's it. You'll have like one male, maybe two, when they're actually family related. That sometimes you see it in the nature, but you're not gonna see a random male just walking in and be like, "Hey, bro, I'm just gonna join your pride. Thank you." It's not happening. Like that lion right there, he's gonna be put down. And those things, if we want to prevent them, it has to be something that's built into the game, unfortunately, because otherwise people will just use it. It's the reality speaking. Like, that's the thing. So it's something to think about. It's something that at least I've been thinking about it. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
buy a Blip yet because there's a lot of stuff that needs to be done yet. So let's say we haven't had time to talk about the future of the game much, because we already have like a bunch of shit that needs to be resolved right now. When it comes down to
Everything gets on pace
yeah, that's it exactly.
because
So
you don't want to work on this, work on everything at the same time, and then start to forget.
yeah, pretty much, and it's ridiculous to think about adding anything like that, or even talking about, oh yeah, we should do that, when we're not even close to being at this stage. Essentially, if it makes any sense.
That's true. That it makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
It is pretty important for people to know that also,
Yeah,
because a lot of times I hear a lot of devs, a lot of people. No, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Oh yes, I wanted this, I wanted that, and 1 year passes, 2 year passes, 3 year passes, and people are like, well, you said this like 3 years ago. Where's that at? Oh,
uh,
because we have to do this, we have to do
Well,
that.
oh no,
so
I'm
that's the
very
thing is a
very
lot of
very
people.
I'm very strict when it comes to this. Blip, be my guest right now. I'm a pain in the ass
Yeah,
with it.
no, Shmoo he works his ass off. Since he's been on the team, he's made everything possible. And then a lot of people do forget though, we haven't even been in development for a year. We're working at hyper speed. Like, even with us like being behind on like our release date, we are still like ahead of the competitor as far as like where they started from. Now, like I told you, stress testing gonna be fucking terrible for the first wave, but the second wave is gonna be fantastic.
Yeah, because
It is to be expected.
stress test, to be honest, if we're just talking about it, like me and you and Blip, and we're just like chatting at a bar, sitting on the table, and we're just like having fun. I don't think stress test is going to be a good representation of
It
what.
shouldn't. It's a stress test. It shouldn't be something set on stone. It shouldn't be something perfect. If you make a first stress test perfect, that means
Oh no!
that you're either a god
Oh
at
no!
programming.
Hell no! Like I've been here about a month, maybe a
Because a
month.
lot of people will jump in the first time, first test, first stress test, and they will just go at the game like, hey, this game's garbage. Like, look at this, lagging all over it again, needs this and that. But they kind of forget that it is a stress test.
Oh,
People
but
forget sometimes that it's early access.
oh yeah, 100%. But the thing is, it goes a little further. We like between me and you, we don't have all the animations set to have a properly smooth transition. So I think some of those things are going to disappoint people.
Yeah, but animations, it's not really like I was telling Blip. Animations and sounds, not something easy that people think. You know, sometimes I think to myself, the only thing that makes dinosaur games a little bit more, let's say, easy or whatever, is that people don't know how a dinosaur behaved back then. They don't have
No,
videos. They don't have
ex-
sounds.
exactly. It's all imagination and what you
That's
think they're
all
going to do.
exactly all imagination. All of the animation you gotta maybe imagine this is how probably he attacked.
That's it.
Might not
Exactly.
be. But when you have animals, real animals, you have videos, you have sounds, you have people who really study, people who really do this and that. But sometimes it's not really easy. It's not really easy to know how he behaves because unless you go into the wild and be like, okay, let's go into a safari, let's go into the middle of the jungle for 1 week, try to find this gorilla or tiger and see how he behaves, see how he chops this animal's head off or whatever, And that is really impossible. But a lot of people don't have really that perspective on how things are made.
Because bringing exactly, and that I actually appreciate the fact that you understand that because to be honest, like we're kind of expecting a bit of a backlash when it comes to this because of that misunderstanding essentially where like bringing stuff from an actual real world into a 3D environment and to try to bring that realism aspect is not just cut and dry and you just like make it happen. So
For
it
at least for me, sorry to cut you off, but
no, no, it's fine, go ahead.
at least for me, I told in my video, Blip saw it. I said that I didn't really like the game because actually you guys are trying to do something that goes like 1 to 100 pretty fast. You're trying to do something that not I'd ever seen a animal survival game doing, you know. And it's just so good to be true, especially when people will probably watch this video. Hopefully, can post it. They will probably be like, yeah, that's just pretty nice, pretty cool. But they need to keep in mind that, a lot of things might not go right when they launch. A lot of things might go wrong. It might not be easy, and sometimes, it takes a lot for a developer to be honest with the community and say, yes, I said this, but unfortunately, I was wrong. We're not able to do that. This or that happens. Instead of just saying, yeah, it might come, it might happen.
I try to be very
um
transparent, and
yeah,
again, my team pushes that as well. Like they live by the same thing. Um, I don't have anything to hide. So for me, like in your first video, yes, they were right. I have no development experience prior to this. But what they forgot to tell you is that I hired and brought on people that do have the experience to help back this project. Now, moving forward, once we actually get some better funding, it'll speed up the process a lot more. Um, and you'll get exactly what we say that we're gonna do. Now, I haven't said anything that we couldn't do
Mm-hmm.
that's not able to be done. Like I run everything by Matt. Like if he said, "Yo, there's no way in hell that we can do 5 biomes," then I would have corrected myself already and said, "Hey, dude, guys, we might only be able to do the rainforest biome and build off of that. But rated by the developers, it's more than doable to have more than one map. It's more than doable to have a certain amount of animals. So a lot of people like live like in this like in the past where you think that it's not possible. Dude, this
N-
isn't
yeah,
PlayStation
now
we're talking about.
now engines are so are built with so many, like the only thing I think that makes the limitation is when it comes to optimization of whatever the heck we put in there, not exactly what we actually put in there. I think that's really where the confusion comes in, because there's nothing stopping us from doing literally anything. I mean, most of the games nowadays, if you check, they're made by Unreal Engine, for example. And I mean, I could literally, all the games that we can talk about that are exactly the same as us are made in Unreal Engine. So Path of Titan, Unreal. Diaz, Unreal. Um, Beast of Bermuda, Unreal. I name it, and
Primal Earth, Unreal,
Primal
Anomalia,
Earth.
Unreal. Like everybody in our genre is Unreal Engine. Now,
Ex-
we're
yep.
pushing everything to the limits
Yeah.
as far as what we can't do. That's the difference. Is that we're implementing grooming. That's gonna stress everyone out. We're implementing multiple maps. That's gonna stress everyone out. We're implementing unique animals per biome. That's gonna stress people out. But it is all doable.
Mhm.
Again, it goes back to what Shrew just said. We just got to make sure everything is optimized in order for you guys to enjoy it.
Because at the end of the day, that's the thing that's going to probably make a hit or miss, essentially, is that, are we going to be able to optimize it to the brim, which is probably going to require even more optimization than most of the games out there, unfortunately. So that's why early on, I'm here, and because again, like I have to know that Blip actually got me in like, maybe a month. Okay, so early on, I came in and I was like, "You want to make something ambitious, Blip? No problem. We're gonna have to set some ground rules for the development of the game right now, because if we don't start the implementation of optimization early on, we're never gonna make it at the end of the line."
Right.
So that's where like I came in and I was like a bit. I shook him off a bit.
We've been doing a lot of editing since Shmoo's been on the team.
That
But
is good to
again,
know.
he's a great asset to the team. And again, like I said, we would not be here if it wasn't for him coming in clutch.
And I do have to say, I do thank you, Blip, to reach out and talk to me, because it's transparency, and a lot of people might have doubts. A lot of people might perceive, stuff that people say and maybe take it that in the wrong direction. I wouldn't say this in the wrong way, because as for me, throughout this conversation, it kind of made clear that the things that I thought the game would be, it's not really how it will be. Because for me, I thought that game would have a map with 5 different biomes. That's not the case. The game will have different maps with different biomes, and in each of those maps will have each animals. Now that's doable. That is something that now we stop a little second, think about, you can actually make that. But making a map, with 5 biomes, different animals in that biome in the same map, it just sounds too good to be true. And I'd really thank you for clarifying some of my question. Hopefully people will also, have those doubts and clarifications.
Well, I mean, they could always talk to us. Well, maybe not me as much, unfortunately, because I'm I'm a shadow guy.
That is, yeah,
And
no,
the back
I'm the
end.
guy that goes out and tries to reason with everyone, and they tell me not to. Right now,
Mhm.
you were a different
You
situation because you
can't.
talked to my admins and they gave you the wrong information. So I was like, I'm not gonna ask you to take the video down because that's what you got. I think that the video is amazing based on the information that you were given. It's 100% accurate, but
Literally.
what they told you wasn't accurate. So I'm that person that tries to turn haters into believers. Now, realistically,
Yeah, but
even after you
I'm not
post,
really a hater, but I'm more of a skeptic.
Right, no, I get it, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of people that are skeptics. They think that it's a cash grab. Now, realistically, if we wanna address that for, like, a tad second, I'm probably the dumbest scammer in the world that uses your money to buy game assets if I wasn't planning to make a game.
Uh,
That's just where we're at.
just let it sink. Just
It's a
let it
cash grab.
sink a little bit.
Yep.
A lot of people say that about early access game and development games. It's cash grab. They even say that Animal is a cash grab. Like my perspective is I always come with a let's say neutral mind into any game. And a lot of people talk. I don't really like how people are, but this is the internet. A lot of people talk a lot of stuff that they don't really know about. They think they know a lot of things, and they try to enforce that type of behavior to other people.
Well, you see,
I
that's
mean,
where.
everybody's opinion.
Yeah. Oh no, go ahead, go ahead.
I was just gonna say everybody's opinionated because they can go watch a 30-second tutorial video on TikTok and think that's just what it is. Uh, it's not. There's a lot that goes into like the game development that I had no idea about. I came in inexperienced. I knew nothing. I made a lot of mistakes. Uh, Tried to correct those mistakes, and now I have great people that work for me and with me, uh, helping to make this project become exactly what I say it's gonna be.
Not only that, like us content creator, although I'm a small channel, pretty small channel. I even started my YouTube channel like 7 months, and I'm still also learning like you in sort of a way.
No, it's
And
the same way. I think it's
I,
the same way, to be honest.
it's the same way. I'm also learning a lot of things that I'm doing. Can contribute to my future downfall or whatever. That's something that can happen. So as a content creator, as somebody who kind of makes video for fun, it's not really something I do as a full time. You have to be very careful what you say. You have to be transparent. You have to be honest. You have to engage with the community, same as you're doing, Blip. Although, like I said, if you reach out to the community a lot, it's not really something that you should be doing, because
I
by the
love
end of
talking
the
to
day,
the community,
you will
bad.
have people you're gonna love talking to, and they're like, "Oh, Blip, can you do this?" And you're like, I don't know. Come on, Blip. You're like, "Yeah, okay, I'll fuck
I
it."
mean,
And that's when I'm here, and I'm
I get
like,
that
"Fuck
now.
you."
Yeah, no, so yeah, so he's the devil and I'm the angel. So like I do enjoy talking to my community. He's the one who's like, "Hey, listen, that's not happening, right?" And I'm like, "All right, cool, that's fine." But like, I do love talking to everybody that's in the Discord, and I even like for the comments like on YouTube. I still like I used to. They stopped me from doing this now, but I used to go in there and like tell people about like what it actually is because some people get the information misconstrued. Like you're playing a game on telephone when people are doing reviews on your stuff without talking to you directly.
That is true, and it's pretty nice, and it eases me that we have this balance between, let's say the example angel and devil, because a lot of the times you might be the owner, you might be the guy who calls, let's say, the shots per se, and you might have Schmoke being like, we can't really do that, but like, I don't care, you gotta do it anyways, I'm the boss. That
No,
can
that's
I have
contribute
my
a
com
lot,
no, that's that's not
I'm
our dynamic.
no,
and it's
I
Uh,
pretty nice to know that. It's pretty
love-hate
nice to know that.
relationship.
yeah, I know because I respect everything that he says. Now, realistic, like I said, I have no experience going into this, so yes, I have ideas. Now he humbles me with actual facts. So like, I might want a chimp that swings from tree to tree with a spear in his hand. He's like, dude, are you mad? That's not happening. So like, there's some things that like we
No,
disagree
it
on,
would
but I
be
take
cool.
his word. Yeah, it would. Like I
It would be
still
the
want a
plans of
chimp
the
that can ride a
apes
horse. Yep.
They're gonna take over. Who knows? Maybe
with
it's
some
gonna be a
body
DLC.
paint.
Yeah,
Who
but yeah,
knows? Who
no,
knows?
I'm not that boss. Like I don't like as far as like my developers goes, I don't really give those commands. And actually, he can attest to that because he's the one who told me like, "Yo, you gotta like tell them what they're supposed to be doing." And I'm like, "Listen, they're the experts. I tell them what I need." And he's like, "Nah, you need to make sure this is how that goes." So that now he's project manager and he like controls the development side.
It's early though, so that's why I still have a lot of reorganization to
I
see.
just want to make a quick question. Schmook, where are you from?
I'm a Canadian.
Your
I
accent
mean,
sounds pretty different.
it's because I'm in the French portion of the Canadian country. Essentially, I'm from Quebec. We speak French over there. Oh, it's not my first language.
They sound really similar to either Portuguese or French. I'm like,
Oh, that's
maybe,
pretty close,
maybe,
I guess.
maybe te parles français un petit.
Oh wait, the thing is, the French that we speak in Quebec is I call it the Viking version of the French, if it makes
Oh
sense.
no.
Oh yeah, we're rougher than the French people. Actually, French people don't understand us, if it makes sense. So
So we've been talking a lot of hours. I was not planning on staying here for a long time, but I just want to give 2 questions, to give you guys 3 questions. The
All
first
right.
one is: are you guys thinking and maybe adding a mythical? Now that we talk about Vikings, mythical DLC,
That is something that we cannot
mythical animals, for example,
confirm or deny.
unicorns.
We cannot
yeah,
confirm or deny that.
exactly. That's
The second thing is that hopefully it won't be a deal breaker. You know, if I record this, but I want to give you the appreciation of taking the time to reach out for me and correct, the wrong things. And I do also want to give you a sort of a spotlight, you and Schmook, if you want, to clarify, say something for the audience. If you want, if you don't want, okay.
Shmuel, you want to start off? I don't know.
I
Uh,
don't have anything at the top of my head, man. I'm sorry, I'm
I
working at
mean,
the same time.
realistically, yeah. So what can I say?
For my very
We are
few subscribers, people
so
will
for
enjoy. For
now,
the haters
you,
and for the people.
you'll blow up overnight. Trust me. Um, but no, we're working on the game. It will be greatness. It takes time. Um, and for those who don't believe, just stick around and watch. Like it's happening. Like we're gonna go do close testing probably later tonight. Me and Shmuel. And once that's all said and done, we'll have a day for stress tests, and we'll just keep on grinding.
Hmm?
I wouldn't be able to say it any other way. To be honest, I'm literally making the stress test happening as we speak. So for all we know, maybe today, maybe tomorrow, but
Yeah, by the time that you
stress
guys
test
see this
happening.
video, this test has already been out, guys.
It's probably gonna be already out. So whatever I say is gonna be too late. It happens.
Yeah.
No, I
But no,
know.
I
I know
appreciate
for.
you talking.
Thank you, man. I mean, I'm always down to clarify. Like I said, I'm not a hater, and I know that your admins, although they probably gave a few of incorrect, this is not also a diss to them, because they also were trying to have a tight grip on misinformation, like I stated in the video. I just kind of didn't really
Yes.
felt good on being like, well, before you post this video, we want to check out the video. I'm like, I
It's
mean,
probably because again, I should have been there, and they
mhm.
probably wanted to run that by me. And it would have turned out a little differently if I would have just been there from the get go. But I'm glad we had the chance to actually sit down and talk about it.
And lastly, I know, I know that you guys are also supporting a campaign, if I'm not mistaken, for
We
endangered
are.
species animals. If I'm not really mistaken, which is pretty cool. Does like the donations go like if you buy like a pledge or anything like that? Does it go straight to that? All of the nations.
So once those are sold out, then we will make that donation. I'm pretty sure it's going to one of the rainforests. I have to go get the link. Um, but yeah, we take a percentage of what we earn for the endangered one, and we'll donate it. Um, and then same thing for the Kickstarter that's coming up. Uh, once we release the Kickstarter, we'll be giving away, or not giving away, but donating 10,000 to. We'll let the community decide.
Pretty cool. pretty cool. I wouldn't say event, but English is kind of like failing in my head.
Initiative.
Initiative, yeah, that's a pretty cool initiative. It would be nice. A lot of people would give that donation, especially for the people in Congo, the rainforest. Which hopefully, if people like gorillas, they kind of know about the story about the Congo and the rangers over there. But a final question, the final question is that Leo Adamans kind of got caught by surprise, but hopefully you won't, and maybe Schmuck won't, which is a very easy question, but also a powerful one. It's what makes this game different from your typical game? What makes this different from Animalia, Primal Earth, the Isle? Let's grab all of the animals out there. Why should people care about the Hunted? Why should people buy the Hunted?
Flip is gonna probably give a different answer than me, but I'll let him first.
I was gonna have you go first because I
yeah,
feel like we're probably gonna be on the same page as far as.
Well,
go
it's
ahead,
just because
you go.
I have a little bit more of a focus that I told you about, but I think we're gonna.
I was gonna say I know we're gonna say the same thing.
We're gonna
say like at the same time.
We're gonna shock people to the core with the combat mechanic, essentially, and the realism of the game. We are. I am telling you right now, people will not fucking walk. They're gonna look at the Isles and they're gonna be like, "Huh."
Yeah, as far as like comparing us to every other game in the genre, our combat system is going to be by far the most advanced. Now, like I said, going into stress tests because I know like once this is
I know
like,
because when you say that is, when you say that it's going to be advanced, you gotta be very careful.
Yeah, I'm challenging this. I'm challenging this.
You can't say it's gonna be advanced and people play that and be like, "Come on, bleep." The hell is this?
No. Listen, as far as what we are planning for our combat system, we will be the most advanced in the genre. You can quote me on it. Me and Shmoo will stand on it. And if it's not good, then I'll give
maybe in the future we can do another video like this and go back when we talked about this and see what changed and what didn't change.
Challenge me, I say.
I'll challenge. The offer is on the table. 1 year or 2 years from now, we're gonna do another voice chat, do another video, and then we're gonna react to the things that you guys said, promised, and I don't know if even maybe Shmoo might be or might not be.
Trust me, I'm not walking out of this until we get something that's like impeccable, man. I need it. It's to my core. I need it for myself. I need to be able to play the game and be like, I actually enjoy fighting with people or just fucking running away from people because I have fire up my ass.
So that is the biggest difference again between a lot of us, right? Us and them. I won't say any names, but just us and them. Is that we are gamers creating this, but where I can be, because I'm not developing the game, I can still have my imagination. Now, Shmoo is working on the game, so his brain gets fatigued. So I can always bring him right back in and be like, hey, like this is what we should be doing. And he'll do the same thing. Like we are both on the same path and want this game to be beyond everyone's expectations.
I'll say this. Just because you don't have experience in being a developer, even you don't. Here we say put the hands in the. I just say I would say let's put the hand in the meat, sort of, put a mãos na massa in Portuguese. No, don't get downed just because you're not able to, do something. Although you're the brain, you're still in this, and you have the same significant impact as Shmoo, as everyone, as a community manager, as an admin. Everybody here has a purpose, and everybody here is working towards a common goal. Just because you don't know how to develop doesn't mean you're not doing your job. You know, a lot of people might comment and maybe say this or that, because a lot of people like to boast, but don't bring yourself down if someday you come to that, that place where you're like, well, they're kind of right, I don't develop, I just do this, I just want this. But now in reality, everybody appreciates your work and honesty, because it takes a lot of guts to be honest and tell the people that you're wrong, and keep doing what you guys doing. Don't ever let those comments or people tell you otherwise, because eventually, if this game really becomes, you will show a lot of people that you don't really need to be an experienced developer, or you need to know how to work with this. You just need to know how to manage, and that's the hard part. Manage people and have a very good solid structure and very good developers who have the same mindset, because it only takes one guy or two guys to fall and everything will crumble apart. If you manage to do this, you have my absolute respect, like I said. And this will show a lot of people that if you have a dream, if you are persistent, if you make this work, then everything is possible. There are a lot of people that probably want to make an animal survival game, make dinosaur games, survival games, or whatever, but they're just like, but I don't know anything about programming. I don't know how to work on Unity or Unreal Engine. And what if I fail? They will search this video and they'll see the example that you are. I have to say.
It's funny because that's literally the reason why I actually decided to stick around, because I'd rather have somebody that tells me I don't know anything, but I'm willing to learn, than somebody that tells me, oh, I know how everything works and is more of a smartass about it. I wouldn't be able to work with them, realistically speaking. So,
we just have to be honest. Now, a lot of people might hear like Blip doesn't have no experience. He might not even be in develop, but he has no, foundation in gaming. They're like, I don't want to buy a game from a guy like that.
That's fine. I'm here. I'll help him.
But at the same time, it's like, it's realistic. It's the same thing of getting a job. A lot of people sometimes expect you to know everything, and like you work and you learn as you work with your mistakes. The only thing is, people need to be humble and people need to be honest. If you failed, you have to tell everybody that you failed and not sugarcoat it, because a lot of developers do that. They start, grabbing those bits and pieces and stuff and not want to play the victim card or whatever they do. It takes a lot of guts. And because Blip has no background, it is just easy to target.
I mean,
eventually, you guys will prove everybody wrong,
I won't let him be targeted. That's the thing. Like, trust me, I'll be Big Brother Shmoo if it ever comes down to it.
Everybody needs a Big Brother Shmoo, and Blip needs to take care of a bigger Brother Shmoo also. Because like I said, I've seen a lot of people, a lot of community destroy themselves from the inside out.
I mean, if you want me to tell you about one that it would. Oh, you
that's
like me.
that's how if I don't know, I won't talk. If I don't have a proper response, I will say the response that I got given, but I will state that was not, I don't know, something that I did, for example.
That I respect. You're just like me when it comes to this. Then we're just like kind of the same feather.
It is really important. Transparency is really important.
Yeah. Oh, 100% agree.
Hopefully you guys will prove me wrong. Hopefully, I'm just waiting for the launch. Hopefully, see if it's going to be still by the end of this year. But if not, 2024.
No, we'll try to get a proper. We're unfortunately not gonna be like taking too long to get the whole thing going for updates. I plan to make a good structured way of getting like steady updates so that we don't wait for months and years.
Just you have to be very careful when you give ETAs, because games are like, yeah, September. You know what? Not September. November. Yeah, guys, not November. Maybe like early 2024. And then when you look at that, like 1 year has passed, and you're like, when?
Yeah, no. That's not gonna be the case. Don't worry about it. I hate that to my life. I mean, fuck. I just can't stand it for myself. I've seen that. I've actually lived that. I a bit like Blip said, we're all gamers at the end of the day. I played the Oz, played all these games, and I lived it, and I'm livid about it. So, no, don't worry about it. There's going to be a proper chain of priority, what's going to be updated and everything. And I mean, if there's some updates that come a little earlier, well, we'll just push it earlier. What can I say?
Well, for my part, that's everything. I don't really have any questions. I don't really also want to ask a lot of questions. I just want people to just maybe jump here and discover the game from themselves and maybe play the game and see how they actually feel about it. You know,
Yeah,
because
each their opinion, really.
it's their opinion. Exactly. And I can't really comment it. They really enjoy the game. They enjoy the game, but hopefully people like me who have the doubts and maybe skepticism with this video, people will now know the reality, the truth, how Blip is, how the development is going, and how Schmuck is. And maybe they will reach out for you guys, and hopefully, other content creators will also see this, and I don't know, ask you guys also some different opinions, because I can't really be the only one, having doubts and etc.
I mean, I welcome this.
Yeah,
They
that is it.
They can bring it.